a small group consisting of mental health professionals and stakeholders connected with the care of children in institutions in some capacity gathered together to brainstorm and explore the launching of a new journal. They had a singular purpose in mind: to publish a journal that would provide regional, that is South Asia, representation to research papers related to children displaced out of the family network and the management of services to this population. It was recognized that there was a serious absence of any such journal or forum for presentation of ideas and generation on evidence-based practice, especially in the South Asian region. The time was right, and the dedicated efforts of the editorial group led the journal to be one of its kind. The able leadership and far-sightedness of the editor-in-chief, Dr. Monisha Nair Akhtar, the licensing editor, Dr. Kiran Modi, and with the dedicated efforts and contributions of all the editorial board members, today we are celebrating a decade of academic engagement of this journal, which is widely referred to in the field of family strengthening and alternative care. So to start with this afternoon session, now I call upon Dr. Kiran Modi, founder and managing trustee, Udayan Care, to extend welcome to the August gathering and share with us the journey of the ISEP journal.
After lunch, it's always a bit of a difficulty, but I'm sure you will bear with us. At least I am bursting with excitement. You can imagine this labor of love, which was started 10 years back, is actually reaching a decade. It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Since morning, we've had very interesting deliberations. So I think most of our minds are also chewed up. But I think after listening to this little presentation about the achievements of this journal and how it is bringing about a change, maybe it will refresh us. Another very good news I have to give you. It's a milestone year for Udayan Care. You know the milestones, right? 30, 20, 10. This is the beginning of the 30th year of Udayan Care, of being in the service of children and women, and 20 years of our scholarship program, which is called Udayan Shalini Fellowship, and 10 years of ICB. So it's a huge milestone, 30, 20, 10. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. If nothing else, at least it has brought me out of my stupor and, food. Can you? Yeah. When we started, one of the initial architects, Mr. Vikram, that is also here. I'm so glad to see him. And I don't know if any of the earlier people are here, although some of them might have joined online. I was there at the launch. So, we felt that there was a need. In India, we do such good work, but we don't document. We don't do research. We don't do, a baseline and a post, evidence how it is making an impact. So all those things, and especially in South Asia, you see any study that you look for in the field of family strengthening, alternative care, child sexual abuse, whatever, you will find all coming from the West. And there was an acute need to set up a platform right for South Asian countries so that we could deliberate together. Because our issues are also similar, our cultures are also quite similar at places. So the idea was, how do we bring alternative care, especially at that time when we started, and it wasn't much talked about other forms of alternative care beyond institutional care. So it was only, I think some far sight, we named the journal as Institutionalized Children, Explorations and Beyond. So it's not really our intention to keep children in institutions. Our intention is to find the children the best possible care. If possible, strengthen the family so that the child can go back to the family. If not possible, no family or no extended family is willing to take care, other community-based forms of alternative care and institutional care. You raise the standards of care. So with this idea, and to create evidence so that more and more people can kind of, understand what's going on, and they have evidence and they can create their programs accordingly. This is an international journal, we like to call it, because it's multidisciplinary. Here, you will find sociology, psychology, social work, mental health. There are many things, it's a multidisciplinary. It's biannual, twice in a year it comes out, and it's an academic journal. So that means all the writings, they are not like, like articles. These are all research-based articles. It was launched in 2014 to deliberate on policy, practice, and gaps in family strengthening and alternative care for children and youth without parental care. I always like to say this, that I think it is the first and only journal on alternative care in South Asia. I would say in the world, at least I have not come across. You will find many, many journals on social work, many journals on child rights, and there are many other niche areas. But just concentrating on family strengthening and alternative care and South Asia as a region, I think this journal does enjoy some kind of a niche. We are completing a decade of compiling regional evidence. It follows a double anonymized peer review process. So it's quite difficult, double peer reviewed. It is in partnership with Sage Publishers. With Sage coming in, we got a new Philip. So thank you, Sage. And so far, 19 issues of the journal have been released. And we are also member of Committee on Publication Ethics Scope. Mission to create a rich regional platform for sharing discourses, bringing together stakeholders. These stakeholders could be anyone, mental health, even doctors like our Dr. Rajiv, anybody, who will be able to write on these kind of topics. We are very, very happy to discuss issues related to laws, practices, and evidence-based research regarding family strengthening and alternative care for children and youth without parental care. Because I think if we are talking only about children without parental care, we are not doing justice, because these children also grow into youth and they still need parents. Scope to address limitations in research. As I said earlier, we felt that there wasn't enough documentation and research in our part of the world, knowledge and counseling practices, which are currently prevalent in the South Asia region, to influence policy reforms, decision-making, and to improve practices and standards of care, to encourage the integration of children and youth without parental care into the mainstream society. If we look at its impact, as I said, it's a decade of academic engagement. It's a journey of labor, ideas, inspirations, and innovations. We tried to find out what are the existing gaps between policies, practices, and research that can have a larger impact on policymakers and how it can influence policy. A strong partnership with Sage Publishers since 2020. Before that, we were publishing it with some other publishers. And I would like to take a minute to tell everyone, I think most of you know BICON, international conferences on alternative care and family strengthening, which was launched in the year 2014. And the first journal was also launched along with that. So just imagine how life has come to a full circle. Now the 20th issue will be launched in September 2023 on 6th and 7th of September in Nepal, when we are doing the 5th BICON. BICON has, of course, gone much, much beyond Udayan Care. Now we are 8 partners all over the world who have joined hands, and it is co-owned by all these 8 partners. So my dream for a journal is also that it should not remain only with Udayan Care, and we have multiple partners, and it, then only there is sustainability, Outreach of ICB, if you look at it, I mean, I can't believe it's all paid, subscriptions here. So 28,000 downloads, 18,128 full text downloads in 2021, 9,037 full text downloads in 2022. And we still don't have the final figures. This is only till September. Now we will get it in April. and part of 1,762 package subscriptions in 2021. I think, subscription, say sorry, but for Indian pocket, it is quite high. But people are buying it. They are finding it useful. 17 institutional subscriptions in 2021, over 11,000 package subscriptions. We got contributions in the last 10 years. This is the 10th year beginning, 200 authors based in 16 countries. So that's the kind of reach we've been able to have. We've had contributions from practitioners, students, especially masters and PhD students, where their faculties are also encouraging them. And mind you, it is not even UGC acknowledged right now. And I don't know why, because we have been writing to them, we never hear back, right? And we are on Google Scholar, and we are abstracting and indexing database on Deep Dive, JGate, OCLC. It has a very interesting template, each issue. There is always an editorial note. There is a foreword, in-depth interview. I'm very proud to say in this particular issue, which we are going to release, we have interview of none other than Preeti Patkar, who is a known name in child trafficking and, institutional care, de-institutionalized manner. Everybody knows her. So there are always 4 to 5 research papers, and we really like to, lay focus on in-focus paper, because these are specialized issues. Sometimes a issue which has come up, which may not be part of that special issue, we call it in-focus paper. We always have a good practice model paper. So many practitioners are sitting here, and you can also spread a word. So if you are doing any practice, please, put the article in the good practice paper. And we have an international perspective paper, because we think it's very important for us to know how the world is moving. So we always have, and we buy proper permissions, we republish many times. Many times we get a fresh article also. There is an opinion piece. Again, in opinion piece, we always like to put, for and against. So maybe 2 people, maybe 1. And there is a book review. This book also needs to be written about children in alternative care or institutional care or some such related family strengthening. So that kind of a book we pick up. A movie review, again, movie very, very concentrated on finding those kind of movies, and which I'm sorry, we are not making too many. Although one of my girls who is right now working in Bollywood, she has been calling me that I have a beautiful script in mind and let's make it. So I don't know whether it will be possible. Then there is a very interesting column, brief communications, where anything which has happened in the sector, we try to put in small snippets so that people can get ideas, and upcoming events where we cover upcoming, conferences and seminars. So many special issues have come out. We have listed only a few. Depression in children and young persons living in alternative care. Evolution of trends in alternative care for children in South Asia. Aftercare, child sexual abuse, your favorite topic, which you feel is not being given attention, but it is in alternative care. Caregivers, we have taken out many issues on caregivers. Deinstitutionalization, policies, strategies, practices, and implications for South Asia. Alternative care in the time of COVID. I think this issue was really, really lapped up. And alternative care for children and young persons with different abilities. Again, and child trafficking and alternative care, which is the topic for today. This issue is a special issue on child trafficking and alternative care. And we are really, really grateful to Preeti for coming all the way from Mumbai and honoring us. All these issues, earlier we were launching every time in an in-person event like this, but COVID made us go on webinars, but that also was very good. Every article which is published here, research article, we try to use social media. And there could be article specific posts. There could be articles from every issue covered into blogs and promoted on Sage Digest as well as Sage Global platform, so that it has a large reach. Why I'm telling you all this? Because you are my captive audience, and I can, promote you and persuade you to start writing. And 1 to 2 posts every month we try to do. We have dedicated handles on social media: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Editor-in-chief, she's already told you about Dr. Monisha Akhtar. With Dr. Monisha Akhtar, my relationship goes back to 25, 30 years. And she lives in America, in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, and she's at the university there, also doing a private practice. One of the best psychoanalysts I've seen. Her mental health understanding is just awesome. She had been training my staff, my social workers and counselor staff every month. She had been training online, and they present cases and she used to give. And that's when the idea started coming, and Vikram was also there. And this was like coming to me. It was like, it was coming to me in torrents that we need to take out a journal like this. And I needed, people to join me. So Vikram said, yes, why not? And Monisha said, yes, why not? And we started the journal. So I'm supposed to be the licensing editor, and that is what I'm doing now, licensing with all of you. And there are associate editors from Cambodia, and Mr. Rajiv Kumar from SOS. SOS has been a very, very important partner. They were supposed to be here, but I don't know. Huh? Okay. Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize. Okay. And we have editors from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal. And from Maldives, there is a government person, doesn't want to put her name, but she's like an editorial board. And we have an advisory board, again, a galaxy of people from all over the world, from USA, Zubair Minai, our own Zubair Minai from, Jamia Millia, and Dr. S.P.K. Jaina, he's from Delhi University, and Jhuma Basak, she's from Bihar. Which university is she from? Jhuma, right. And then from Italy, USA, Dr. Janardhan is from Nimhans, and Shubhamurthy is from India, Dr. Shushma Sharma. Hiranthi is from Sri Lanka. Hiranthi was also one of our first, co-conspirator in this. So now I'll talk about this March 2023 issue, which we are going to be releasing. This issue has a special focus on child trafficking and alternative care. I had always been wondering, when the girls are trafficked, when they're found, is it easy to send them back to their families? How do you strengthen their families? Are we making enough efforts? Or we are just giving them another home? How the society is looking at them, stigmatizing them, that these are trafficked girls? What happens really? So this was the idea behind this special issue, to unpack all these areas which we don't talk about in general. An interviewee, I told you in this issue, we interviewed Preeti Patkar, and she came every bit so knowledgeable. You are just amazing. And this issue has 4 research papers around child trafficking, prevention and protection of children's rights, an in-focus paper capturing the legal policies related to children in care system. There is a good model paper highlighting a trauma-informed consultation model for treating survivors of child labor. Child labor is another form of trafficking. International perspective paper on orphanage trafficking. Now this word orphanage trafficking is becoming very, very popular all over the world. So I think it's very important. And sustainable development goals, opinion piece, book and movie review, brief communications, and upcoming events. So let me tell you about this next issue, where we are going to be finishing our 10 years. It's a special issue, and we are going to trace the evolution of alternative care in the South Asian countries. So all our 8 countries, they will be properly represented, what happened in these 8 countries in the last 10 years. So I think it's really going to be a collector's issue. So please start booking it. 8 South Asian country papers by experts, as I said, and it will be launched at the 5th Biennial International Conference in Nepal. So there is a invitation also extended. Whoever wants to come, you can check with us, and we will send you the information. So for presenting papers, for developing a good understanding of alternative care in Asia, and with a special focus on South Asia. And guess what? We requested Ian, and he has 100 things to do, with his SERI work and his so much work in Moldova, in Africa, in Sri Lanka, I don't know where all. He agreed to become the chief editor, guest editor for this issue. So we are very, very thankful to you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because I think he has such a deep understanding of alternative care. So it's going to be a collector's item. We wanted Monisha to send her video, and she was planning to send one, but she could not. So I'll just content myself by quoting her. She said, "We always look forward to more ideas and voices to contribute and to be inspired by this journal. We are only as good as people who support us." So if you people are good, we are good. And believe in the efforts to make this a better world for the children. So what do you say? Who all are going to think about sending us some documentation, research papers? Please do. Thank you. Yes.
think Kiran has given a beautiful presentation and from the heart, as she always does from the heart. But it's been a very serious presentation. Let's look at the lighter side. Have you seen, where's that thing? It says institutionalized children, expectations and beyond. Explorations and beyond. How did we get this name? Grammatically, this is wrong what is written. It actually needs a colon. You know, Deepak, who's not here today, I think he made 10 rounds, 10 rounds. And the registrar of newspapers said, in a title, you cannot have colon. Kar kurke, I think it took us 2 months, Harshita. I'll talk about SAGE after that. You may not have been there at that time. And after that, we finally then negotiated. Even negotiated is the key word, with that clerk in the registrar's office. And the master negotiator was Deepak. I believe today is not well, so he's not here. कि भाई ये कोलन को करने दो नहीं माने. So then we said to hell with it. People will not even understand that grammatically it is incorrect. The lighter side, number 2. We decided यार कुछ बड़ा बढ़िया grand launch होना चाहिए. And initially the idea was to make it a SARC journal. So they remained, but technically for various reasons, we could not call it SARC because that is a government trademark sort of a thing. But we went ahead. So we started, and this is where God comes in. We decided that Hiranti was then the chairperson of the UN Commission. Isko lana hai, and she's the daughter of the last Governor General of Ceylon, then Ceylon. Same time, one of my closest friends, who Kiran also knows very well, her daughter was to get married, but to a Pakistani. So for political reasons of visa, we went to Sri Lanka for the shadi. And I said, my Colombo to aaya I was then, friends like Rajiv will recollect, 20 kilos heavier, long hair, big dadi. And I knock on Hiranti's door and I said, I want to come and meet you. She later recounts, मैं तो डर गई कि who's this mad man who's walked in? ये तो terrorist लगता है. And I said, आपको आना है, हमने ये करना है. He later told Kiran, the only reason I said yes initially was I was afraid of him. But she became such a great help. Then we said, UN ki head aayegi. So how can we have it launched at a great place? So we did some brainstorming, and one of our trustees, he's a great doctor. So we went to him, yaar tum batao, kahan ja sakte hain? Do you know so and so? So every big shot will have ulcers, tension, ulcers. So we caught upon one of the top doctors. He said, हाँ उसको ulcers है, अगले हफ्ते वो मेरे पास consultation के लिए आ रहा है. I'll give you an appointment. So we got the appointment. Kiran and I land up there. He has a darbar going on, 20 people. Finally, after about 30 minutes, he turns to us and says, done. Dr. Saab ne keh diya to ho gaya. And that's how the first issue got launched. Meanwhile, the SARC headquarters was in Nepal. Around the same time, I got an invitation to be guest of honor at India's Republic Day celebrations at the High Commission, embassy there. So we had a chance to meet the SARC people. So this is God's greatness and kindness. तो वो हमारा एक साथ हो गया. But always remember government interference, you can't have a colon. And then we come to SAGE. We both decided, yeah, we must have SAGE. And old timers will recall the great newscaster, Tejeshwar. He's the fellow who started SAGE. And we said we must try and meet him. I had some Doordarshan connections. So we finally got an appointment. And we both walked into this huge office and left in isolation in an almost bare room, Harshita. I don't know if that such a thing still exists. And there we are nervously talking to each other, kya kare, kya kare. Finally, we had a cup of coffee, sweet words, nothing doing. I think it took us 5 years finally before SAGE got us. But the great thing is that SAGE made it clear that for us, you're upstarts, prove yourself. So Harshita being here today is proof that in spite of a clerk objecting to a colon, the best in the business, SAGE, has recognized us. Thank you all very much. This is the lighter side of it. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Our associate editor now is in Cambodia. He was part of our original team of 5. Yeah. And in 2012, communication was very poor. We were all learning Skype. And we used to struggle. And Luis was a lawyer from Mexico who was, for some strange reason, interning with us at Udayan Care. And he has continued his association with us through all his travels all over the world, now at Cambodia. So we must pay a special tribute to Luis. Is he online by any chance? I don't know whether he's most probably he will be. So if you're there, hi, and wonderful to have you around.
Thank you, Kiran ma'am, and thank you, Mr. Vikram sir. It was a splendid journey indeed. So the publishing house is a strong pillar for every academic journal, which provides recognition to the publications and accessibility to a wider audience. As Kiran ma'am shared, our partnership with SAGE Publications began in 2020, which gave us a boost in our academic journey and efforts. SAGE services benefited ICB Journal in providing high visibility and exposure through its extended reputation and reaching to a wider academic community. So may I kindly request Ms. Harshita Kalra, Assistant Managing Editor, SAGE India Partnership, to share a few words about the partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vineet. Good afternoon, everyone. I, on behalf of SAGE, would like to congratulate Dr. Kiran Modi, Founder Managing Trustee, Udyan Care, Professor Monisha Nayar Akhtar, Editor-in-Chief, and Dr. Guneet Kalra, Assistant Managing Editor, Advocacy Department, and everyone associated with the journal, Institutionalized Children Exploration and Beyond, and Udyan Care team for completing a decade of publishing the journal. Driven by the belief that social and behavioral science has the power to improve society, SAGE focuses on publishing impactful research and enabling robust research methodology. SAGE collaborated in 2020 with Udyan Care for publication of the journal. Since then, the journey has been delightful for us. Through collaboration with SAGE, the aim is to focus upon the journal's vision and bring in research which is impactful. The journal is published biannually and often brings out theme-based issues with the vision to evolve, examine, and address issues related to alternate care for children and young person in South Asia, as it represents one of the niche journal on the alternate care and one of its kind in South Asia. The special issue published in March 2023, Focus on Child Trafficking and Alternate Care, reflects the concern for growing and troubling societal problems. The article on prosecuting orphanage trafficking in Nepal by Catherine Evan Dore, Rebecca Neff, and Anju Pan is the trending article from this latest issue. And ICB's editorial team is dedicatedly working towards the development of the journal with SAGE. Its reach continued to go up each year and has increased from 7,000 downloads in the first year to around 18,000 downloads in the second year. The readers are from all across the world, with the majority from United States, Western Europe, South America. The journal continues to create awareness through increasing visibility and serve as a vector to vision of ICB. The journal is growing and in leaps and bounds while ensuring continuous engagement on the theme of today's panel discussion. SAGE is proud and profound of this association with aims to raise awareness about the importance of inclusive education and promote best practices in the field of special education. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harshita. We look forward to continuing our journey together with more insightful academic dialogues. So coming to our current issue, as Kiran ma'am and Harshita shared. So this March 2023 issue of the ICB Journal is a special focus on child trafficking and alternative care space. The special issue on child trafficking is a reintegration of our ongoing concern towards factors leading to separation of children from the family and to the increasing exploration of this increasingly disturbing trend. So now, for the release of this issue, may I invite Dr. Kiran Modi, Ms. Harshita Kalra, Mr. Rahul Sharma, these are the SAGE representatives, Mr. Ian Faber-Pratt, Deputy Director CIRI, Mr. Vishwajit Ghoshal, Dr. Shehzadi Malhotra, Ms. Preeti Patkar, our editorial board members. We have Mr. Vikram Dutt here, Deepak sir, Deepak Sharma sir, please. Then we have Ms. Richa from SOS and our team, Udayan Care team, Leena ma'am. Please join us for releasing of this issue.
Actually, इसको पीछे कर दो. The photo ठीक है. And Dr. Guneet Kanga and Leena. Do you have any special name for advocates? What do you say, advocate Leena? We'll do it together. We'll do it. अच्छा, there's extra. Guneet, आप लोग दोनों इसको लो. आप दोनों लो, हम दोनों इसको लो. Just.
ओरिजिनल ग्रुप के तो दो ही है.
ओह, मेरे को अलग से वाह वाह. So खोले. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Indeed, a pride moment for all of us. So it's time now for our next segment, a panel discussion on child trafficking and alternative care. Child trafficking is a complex, multidimensional issue. Therefore, an open discussion which incorporates different perspectives of the topic is imperative. In this regard, the expert panelists from research and practice arenas will discuss the different approaches and interventions to address this issue with a special focus on alternative care. For moderating this session, we have Mr. Ian Faber-Pratt, Deputy Executive Director and Children's Emergency Relief International CIRI. He works in the field of child protection and child protection system reforms at a global level. Ian is a professor at the Washington University's George Warren Brown School of Social Work and a member of the Board of Trustees at Principia School and College. He completed his master's in social work from the Brown School. Ian is passionate about bridging gaps between policy and practice in the fields of child welfare and protection at global, state, and local levels. He is a consultant for international organizations on strategic planning and theory of change development in the field of family-based alternative care. Personally, Ian is an international adoptee, discovered a human trafficking racket surrounding his own origin story, and specializes in therapy with adoptive families, both international and domestic in identity. Ian lives with his partner, Nargis, and his children, Zane and Inaya, in St. Louis, Missouri, USA. I request Mr. Ian to begin the session and introduce our panelists for today. Over to you, Ian.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? All right, good. Is everyone doing okay? Are you ready for an exciting session? And is anyone asleep yet? Not yet, huh? Okay, so we have some incredible panelists, both in person and online. Before each panelist, I will read their bio, but first I'd like to call everyone up to the diocese and we can sit here. And then before each panelist, I'll read their bio. So, Mr. Vishwajit Ghoshal, could I please ask you to join us up here? Please come and join us. And you are there. Badiya, welcome, welcome. And Dr. Shahzadi Malhotra. Here you are. Good. Can you please join us and then make sure that I said your name correctly?
It was correct.
Wow, that's the first time. Great.
Unexpectedly.
Oh, and then online, do we have our wonderful online people joined yet? You do. So Anjupan is joining us online. And then can we have the very famous, where is Preeti? Where is she? Where is she? All right. She needs no introduction. This Miss Preeti Patakar, can please join us as well right here? And Suresh Kumar should be joining us from online as well. But as I mentioned, I will give everybody's bio as they start. So, Mr. Vishwajit, I have you first on the list. So I'm going to read your bio.
Okay,
And then I would love if you could share with us today.
fine.
All right, great. We doing okay so far, everyone? Happy? Okay, let's keep going. Okay. So Mr. Vishwajit has 17 years of experience as a child rights and social development professional with policy analysis, research, and program management skills, with over 17 years of working experience on a whole wide.
Please speak in the mouth.
Like this?
Can you check the sound is not doing well?
Yeah, let's test for sure. Let's make sure everyone can hear.
Yeah, now speak.
Can you hear me now? Testing, testing. No problem. We can figure it out. Yeah, on hand.
Ms. Anjupun, are you able to hear us?
Can you hear now? Not yet? All right.
Ms. Anjupun, are you able to hear us?
Yes.
Well, let's try this.
Thank
Okay, now does it work? Look at that. Nobody told me it wasn't working. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Good. Well, welcome. All right, great. Good, good, good. Okay, and Suresh, are you there? Can you hear us also?
Yes, Jan, I can hear you well.
But yeah, okay,
Good
now
afternoon.
we're cooking. Let's go. Okay, great. So I was in the middle of giving Mr. Vishwajit's introduction, which is beautiful and many years of expertise. So I'm going to start over again so everybody can hear. Okay. So you have 17 years of experience as a child rights and social development professional with policy analysis, research, program management skills, all on a range of social issues, including child protection and juvenile justice and health. You've worked in direct program interventions as well as management experiences in policy advocacy. You specialize in the design and execution of qualitative and participatory research studies, focusing on child sexual abuse and child protection issues, adolescent sexual and reproductive health rights sector as well. Prior to Priyas, JSC Society, you were involved heavily in environmental advocacy. You have the credit of interacting directly with the Chief Justice of several different countries on Article 51C of the Indian Constitution and big level on international peace and security, including a live show. And you have a master's in economics, and your areas of interest include classical music and theater. So maybe at the end you could do some classical music and some sort of show for us. Would be great. But first, I will give the microphone to you.
Thank you. First of all, on behalf of children of Prayas, in fact, on behalf of co-workers of Prayas, and as well as at my own personal level, I extend a sincere gratitude and thanks to Kiranji and to the entire team of Udayan Care for giving us this particular honor. Now, coming back to the subject, whatever I'm going to speak, whatever I'm going to share with you all today, will be my personal experiences of interacting with the children. I will be not going into any legal aspects of it, but definitely when Kiranji, in fact, she was talking about this particular journal, she was trying to connect the story, if you see. So Prayas, as we all know, that Prayas is working from last 35 years now in this particular sector. And in 2021 and 20, in fact, we interacted, or as well as we tried our level best to get into the services of nearly 200 victims of trafficking, as we have major operations in Bihar and Jharkhand. Now, few things, because as the topic is child trafficking and alternative care, each and every child is unique and each and every child needs our attention. So as I already spent 10 years of my life with Prayas, I decided one thing, that my work will not be complete in case if I, along with my spouse, will not take the responsibility of one child. So because every year we are coming across not many children, and we don't know from where they are coming, but maybe we are realizing the sources, either they are coming to us through police, or they are coming to us on order of Child Welfare Committee, or some NGOs, they referred, in fact, that they came across this child, and this child has been referred to us by the Child Welfare Committee. But what is actually happening in the life of that child beyond a certain years, or how the child is feeling, because they all are victims of different situations and circumstances, including trafficking as well. They are from different places. So after a certain year, in fact, we even lost track with these children, where they have gone, what is happening in their life. So we thought, one day I discussed with my wife, in fact, that she was in Kolkata, that if we want to have children, then it should be from Prayas only. And I'm very happy to share with all of you that my daughter is from Prayas. Yeah, and I will never asked her, in fact, that what was her circumstances, but only her struggle as she came in a family. And we got this blessings of God, in fact, when she's already 10 years. So whatever information I could gather, because I prefer not to study all the information which is available on her record, I only learned that she has been left abandoned by her parents, and she was raised up by construction workers at the Greater Noida, and then she was brought by police to Prayas. So today she became our life. So the whole objective of sharing my own story with all of you with the August gatherings over here is that each and every child needs this level of touch, this level of affection, in fact, and this affection and the touch, automatically it works. So when we are talking about the alternative care, because institutions can be a place where they can grow, but institutions have their own limitations and capacity. They would not be able to bring that particular aspects in their life where they could shine also. In order to shine, in order to come to a level where they should be well recognized, without referring to their backgrounds from where they are coming, it needs a lot of affection. We started the program. We have inbuilt programs on trafficking in Bihar and Jharkhand, where the whole objective is how to build youth clubs in those hotspot areas in order to understand the reasons of trafficking over there, in order to strengthen the families, because we all know that poverty is the root cause for all these evils in the society. And through those youth clubs, because this concept I brought from Bengal, if you go and visit Bengal, if you move into any of their pada or any of their locality, you will come across that there are a lot many youth clubs are there. And this is what I witnessed during my stay in Kolkata. It was the period when Buddhadev Bhattacharjee was the chief minister of West Bengal. And those youth clubs, they do wonders. They come to your help and they have the information of each and every family, in fact. And they act as a social friend. So we started building these youth clubs in Bihar and Jharkhand in those hotspot areas by promoting and encouraging the youngsters who are attending schools or attending college or having certain aspirations to become the part of a extended family of prayers. Because you need to have some innovative ideas. You need to have some innovative, you can say, actions where you can act upon. And now these youth clubs, they are helping us in 2 to 3 manners. One is that they're providing us the information, because it is equally important once you restore the child with the family, you also need to know that what is happening in the life of that child. Whether she is with the family, whether she is learning, whether she is growing, or whether she has been re-trafficked again. And at the same time, we also need to learn that to know the social and economic dynamics of the family, because in most of the cases, what we understood and realized that even family is also responsible for the trafficking of the child. So they are the part of the organized gang. And there is another aspect which comes into picture is that their emotional attachment. So in most of the cases, it becomes very difficult also to establish the case of trafficking because they become hostile. They say that nahi, ye to mere jija ji the, ye to mere mausa ji the, ye to mere chacha ji the. So you see that in most of the cases, Section 363 will come into picture, but it is very difficult to establish Section 370. Correct me if I'm wrong anywhere. Yeah, that is another aspect. But our objective is how to strengthen the family, how to connect them with the welfare schemes, and at the same time, how to start some innovative programs which should be sustainable in nature, for which we partnered with a lot of agencies wherever we gone. We took the support of local panchayats because panchayat has a very important role to play. We created the child right ambassadors in those areas. The reason is, and at the same time, we also need to ensure that because you need to ensure some sort of sustainability, and especially the economic sustainability to the child right ambassadors too. Because at the end of the day, they become your informers. They pass on informations to you, and based on those informations, you can only act upon. So I will discuss further. Yeah, you please continue with other speakers as well. So this is what the initial work in the trafficking, and then we will move on that how we develop more programs with the traffic victims, how we establish their linkages with the government schemes, and the family today itself, they became one of their supporters in driving this program forward. But in these hotspot areas, and the biggest challenge which we came across is to retain the momentum and the motivation of the people working with you. That is also a very important aspect. That whether maybe you are very motivated, but it does not mean that your co-workers are equally motivated. That is also a challenge in today's world. How to keep that momentum high, how to keep that motivation high. Because it's all become, at the end of the day, it's a collective responsibility, starting from the organization. And those people who are working as a team in this organization to come to that rehabilitative support, to provide that rehabilitative support to a family. So our focus is more on prevention by building such strategies. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for modeling, very kind of deep, but brief as well. Because the more that we get deep and brief, then we can get into the open discussion at the end, where I'm sure there'll be lots of questions and rich discussion. So thank you very much for kicking us off in the right way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Okay, for our next esteemed panelist, Dr. Shadhazi Malhotra is a mental health professional with a doctorate degree in psychology from Jamia Millia Islamia in New Delhi and an MPhil in clinical psychology from the Institute of Human Behavior and Allied Sciences. I'm tired just hearing all of that. It's amazing. Okay. And she holds a postgraduate diploma in special education from the University of Delhi. She's an associate professor of clinical psychology at EBUS now, and her area of specialization is child and adolescent mental health. To date, there are more 60 publications to credit, in her credit, published in various scientific journals, including various chapters and books with wide readership. She has edited a reference book on neuropsychology as well. For her valuable contribution to the discipline, she has been awarded by various professional organizations. Currently, she's a fellow and a life member of 14 scientific bodies. She has been an invited expert for COVID Health Assistant Training Program of the Delhi government and a trainer for various programs for psychological support during the pandemic times. So I hand it over to you to share with us.
Thank you so much. First of all, thanks to the organizing team and Remya and Gunpreet for nominating me to represent mental health, because it is something that has been very less talked about. And even there is very less evidence-based research on this topic, although it is now gaining momentum, but still we are lacking a lot on this platform. I'll begin with a motto of one of my previous institutes, which said, the vision was healthy child, wealthy future. So I go by it, and health here, what they meant was, and we deeply worked on, was both physical as well as mental health. Physical aspects, we all know. There is a lot of physical violence towards many of the children who are being trafficked. Many a times they are subjected to being kept under the influence of drugs, under the influence of substances, being kept in small cells, and many other things that they undergo. But what all this leads to? Mental health issues, or in a refined way, psychological issues. Imagine ourselves today with our families, and next fine morning, there's nobody I know around me. Not the familiar environment, not the familiar people. Everything has changed for me. Many a times it could be, if it is for adoption purposes, many a times it could be I have been given a very luxurious lifestyle all of a sudden, but where are my people? Where are my surroundings? The toys I used to play with. My mother, for everything I would say, I need this, I need that, but where are the people? Okay, these are the strangers. Depending on the child's age, definitely there would be many phases where it would be strangers' anxiety. I don't know whom to talk to. I'm weeping. I don't know who will come and console me. I need my family, but nobody around. And nobody to listen to, and no way out. What this all leads to. A very simple thing anybody would say is कि depression, mood swings, बच्चा रो रहा है. What beyond that? Nothing. But it leads to a lot of psychological impact, a lot. Many a times we get rescued children who refuse to speak a single word. For many sessions, they will just not speak. We'll try our best to have rapport and everything, but they have selected that mode. No, they will not speak. Why? Because they have lost trust. Many a times they would clearly say or indicate, I will not talk because I don't trust you. All kinds of play therapies fail there. So we need a lot of patience, resilience. Limited studies have definitely showed that there is a lot of high prevalence of affective disorders, trauma, PTSD, self-harm behaviors. Attempted suicide is there. So these are very well-known things. But what we call as externalizing and internalizing disorders in psychology and mental health are two different aspects. Externalizing problems are those which we can obviously see in the child. Internalizing things are that I'm keeping within myself. They are bothering me, they are harming me mentally, psychologically, but nobody is as such very overtly able to do. So there are many, the list is very long. Just to sum, anxiety. Anxiety does have some symptoms, but in children, the symptoms are also very different. It is not very obvious. Many a time their biological functions get altered. Sleep, appetite are disturbed. Now, when they are already in an unfamiliar environment, nobody knows what was their previous level of sleep, appetite. How do they comment? How do we comment about is whether there is a change in the biological functions or not? Nobody to guess it. Emotional attachment issues, as sir also just mentioned, attachment issues. I have lost trust on people. How do I develop attachment on others now? So developing trust, helping them trust is issue. Even in the long term, if I see such people, such children who are undergoing such a psychological event in their life, in the long term, having good heterosexual relationships with their partners, forming friendships, keeping a family, trusting elders becomes an issue. So these are long-term issues. Then they also have decreased self-esteem. There are existential questions. Why me? Why not others? If they see some other children with their own family, they would always have why me question. Why did God choose me? Why did my family do this to me? So these existential questions form the basis of their lower self-esteem further and mistrust. There are also reports of sexual deviations, sexual problems in later life, usually seen in children who have been sexually abused. In those cases, these sexual deviations and sexual problems are largely reported. Then there is dissociation. I am not able to associate with the realities. There could be brief episodes of dissociation, wherein I am not what I am, my real self. In our practices, there could be instances where we come across children who have episodes of unconsciousness. We call them dissociative episodes. We also have something called behavioral issues in the form of hyperventilation. The child is hyperventilating. He is saying कि मुझे breathlessness होती है, मुझे सांस चढ़ जाता है. But when you evaluate, it is when the child is under stress, not when the child is doing physical exertion. So we have, and there are many physical problems that have psychological cause. Like children have psychological cough, they will report. Psychological vomitings would be reported. Abdominal pains would be reported, which will not have any physical causes. And it has also been reported and also come to notice in a clinical practice that such children also learn physical violence and sexual violence, because it is a learned behavior. I have seen it happening to me. And for me, this is the norm. This is okay to do this. So I am also doing it. And second thought, which all humans usually have, if this has happened to me, let me do this to others. Yeah. So this is also the cause. I have suffered this, so let others also suffer. There are also memory problems and learning problems, which are very much important when we are talking about children, because we usually got their development in the form of their school skills, their academics, their learning abilities. So a lot of learning and memory problems, because when we are emotionally not stable, when I am not in the right emotional frame, my cognitive abilities will definitely be affected. So whenever there are such cases, we also need to explore whether these learning problems, the learning disabilities, so-called, many a times we get patients who are sent to us for assessment of learning disability. But our first line is, after physical causes, we need to rule out whether there are any emotional reasons for this. So that is also one major reason and one major effect of trafficking. I'll also keep myself short and brief so that we can have discussions later. But before that, I would just say that it also impacts our coping in the long run. As to handle any kind of situation in life, I need good psychological as well as physical coping. So if I do not develop good coping mechanisms, good strategies to cope with life's problems, I will not be able to have a very good quality of life indeed. And if unaddressed, this trauma leaves us very much susceptible to being further traumatized. So this trauma needs to be addressed, and good, effective coping strategies need to be embedded and given to the children so that we can actually have healthy child and wealthy future. So with this, I'll request you to please invite few other speakers, and I'll keep the rest of the things for the discussion part.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That was very powerful. Thank you. Okay. Anju, can you hear us up there in the internet world?
Yes, I can
Great.
hear you.
Okay. So Anju, I'm going to give your introduction if that's okay, and then hand the microphone to you. So Anju Pan is the country director of Forget Me Not Australia in Nepal. She is a child rights and care reform advocate. Anju has been working with and for the rights of children and, next page, experienced young people, women, LGBTQIA plus communities, people living with HIV/AIDS, and socially excluded and marginalized communities in Nepal for almost 20 years. Her current work is focused on children's right to family and alternative care, strengthening family-based alternative care services, and preventing separation, child protection, anti-slavery, care system reform, deinstitutionalization, family reunification and reintegration that also includes for children with disabilities and children on the move. Anju works alongside a passionate team for children, care experienced young people, the Nepal government, and key stakeholders. She's a member of the organizing committee of the BICON. It's a regional advocacy platform for key stakeholders and young care experienced experts driving care reform in the region. And of course, all of that work is contributing to the global care reform movement. She is a co-facilitator of the Transitioning Residential Care Services Working Group under Transforming Children's Care Global Collaborative Platform. That is also a lot. You must be very tired. Thank you so much for your incredible work, and I hand the microphone to you.
Thank you, Ian, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to congratulate dear friend Kiran and the entire Udian and SAGE team while we are celebrating this special occasion today. If you allow me, I would like to just share a small presentation here. Just a second, please bear with me. I will just open the presentation here. Please let me know if you are able to see the screen. Yeah,
We can see it perfectly.
thank you. So thank you for the invitation and the research article. The topic is prosecuting orphanage trafficking in Nepal. And the co-authors are my wonderful international colleagues, Kate Van Doore, who is an international child rights lawyer, an academic at Griffith Law School, and internationally recognized expert on orphanage trafficking. Rebecca Knepp, she's a senior technical advisor at Better Care Network, and myself. So this is a very important research article for all of us. And also I would like to share here that there are an army of social workers in Nepal, non-government organizations with decade-long work on this sector. So I would like to share this article on behalf of all the team here in Nepal who are working very hard in the grounds. So just to give you a snapshot of Forget Me Not, we work to prevent children and young people from being displaced through investing in innovative initiatives that keep children within their families and communities. In Nepal, according to the National Status Report relating to children, there are 10,905 children in 417 registered children's homes in 43 districts of Nepal. And again, through a long-term advocacy and lobbying and generating evidences, we all together, international and national team together, have come up with this term called orphanage trafficking. And Kate Van Doore has clearly defined this as the recruitment or transfer of children into orphanages for a purpose of exploitation and profit. So we have ample of studies dated back to 2005 in Nepal by first non-government organizations here, citing that trafficking of children in institutional care is happening in Nepal. So here goes the report, Trafficking in Persons report from US Department, which clearly mentions that under false promises of education and work opportunities, Nepali parents give their children to brokers who instead take them to frequently unregistered children's homes in urban locations, where they are forced to pretend to be orphans, to garner donations from tourists and volunteers, and some of the children are also forced to beg on the street. So this is also shows the clear link between orphanage volunteering, forced begging, and how parents are lured into the promises of better education. And here I would like to just add also that not only in unregistered children's homes, such movement of children, transfer of children, trafficking of children is happening in the registered children's homes also. So the focus of this research article is now on how orphanage trafficking is responded to from a legal perspective in Nepal, because we have ample of studies showing that how it is occurring, but now the focus is how it is responded. So that is the focus of my sharing here. And for that, our team analyzed the Constitution of Nepal, which provides a framework for taking legal actions against human trafficking in Nepal. We have HTTA Act 2007. We have the Act relating to children 2018, which was vigorously analyzed by our team. And we also know that Nepal ratified trafficking protocol, Palmero Protocol, in June 2020. So these were the key documents where we analyzed how orphanage trafficking is addressed. So I would like to just give you a glimpse of our partner organization report 2021, where you can see trafficking of children into homes. Children's homes are taking place mostly from the far remote hills of Karnali province. So that is the source where large number of children are coming into the institutions, and we call them as destinations. And the yellow parts, which you can see, the districts, mostly even the government's report shows that 75% of the children's homes are clustered in Kathmandu, Pokhara, Chitwan, Bhaktapur. These are the tourist hubs also. Again, another slide where we would like to show you that how money is also equally involved while the movement of children, transfer of children from their origin, from the place of their origin to the city's institutions. So here there are 12 orphanages, children's homes, where we investigated, found out that families had paid to the middleman, to the broker, in the promises of better education and work opportunities in cities. So you can see in these analysis was done in USD. So minimum you can see in 2016 in one of the orphanage here, per child $40 was paid by the family. Maximum you can see that $2,200 was paid by the families. And let me share with you here that these amounts are loaned. They are not the rich families or good families who have a lot of money in their bank accounts. So what these families do is they take loans at higher interest from the local people who are there. So that's how the money transactions has also been reported by the families. And there are some evidences of money transfer to the bank accounts also, which was produced to the Nepal government authorities. And here, so far we have noted that 10 children's home operators and also the traffickers were prosecuted. So you can see how the prosecution happens here in Nepal in the past. So fraud, this is how the charges were pressed. Maya Devi Orphan and Helpless Children Protection Center, Rupandehi, in 2015, 13 children were rescued by the local authorities, and the reason were non-compliance to the minimum standard operating procedures of the government 2012. Children were placed there against the law. Families were denied to take their children back to their families. And the orphanage operator was charged with fraud case. And later he was easily released in bail. This is one of the cases pressed against the orphanage. Secondly, there was another case in 2019 where 19 children were rescued, again non-compliance to SOP 2012, and the operator had collected USD 250 to USD 1600 from families. The children were transported mostly from the Karnali province in Kathmandu. And again here, the operator was charged with fraud case and later released in bail. Now, after we got the revised Children's Act, the Act relating to Children 2018, which has clear Section 66(2), violence against children, and Section 3, child sexual abuse. Here, the cases were prosecuted as offenses against children. For example, there are two cases here which I would like to share with you. Saudol Mahila Samaj Sanstha in Bhaktapur, 2019, 9 children were rescued. And again, you can see the money transactions clearly here, 115 to USD 500 per child from families were collected by the trafficker, in this case, a woman in the villages. And the operator here was charged with offenses against child section 66(2) and also child sexual abuse section 66(3) because a minor was raped by the operator's husband. So this is the case where offense against child was reported. And similarly, in another children's home, Aishwarya Children's Home, 125 children were rescued by the authorities, and 82% of the children were from Karnali province again, the source of child trafficking into institutions in Nepal. And the money involved, again, the similar range you can see here. And the operator here was charged with offenses against child. Then there is only one case so far where the case was prosecuted based on the Human Trafficking and Transportation Act. So this is the rare case, you can say. Here in 2016, after the earthquake, Maya Orphanage operated a Jerusalem Antioch church. Here children were transported from one district to another and placed in very vulnerable situation. And 8 children were rescued and transferred for transitional care for psychosocial support and family reintegration, which is done by partner organization. The operator was prosecuted here under Human Trafficking and Transportation Act 2007, but later he was released on bail, sadly. The operator's family filed a writ against illegal confinement of children to protect the accused. So usually, the practice here is when such prosecution happens, the operator's family immediately they put writ against illegal confinement to complicate the case and having low understanding. This is the last case which I would like to share here, a case study in Kathmandu. 2020, 11 children were rescued. And again, the children, 45% of the children were from Karnali province. The operator took money from USD 230 to USD 450 per child from families. Again, you can see the similar pattern. Orphanage filed a writ against illegal confinement of children against government, this time to National Child Rights Council, municipality and ward office. So here in this picture, you can see the officials from Central Child Justice Committee who visited children to the transitional care to get the evidence, collect the statement, and have video call with the judge of the Supreme Court. So this was happening during first time in Nepal where during the COVID time, such arrangement was done for children and the evidence collection. So later children were reintegrated back to their families after the court decision. No further charges were pressed to the operator. So this is how the orphanage got closed. But unfortunately, the prosecution is so low when there are enough ample of evidences which shows that there is a clear child trafficking happening into institutions. One of the child who was interviewed here, her name is Change. She told and gave the evidence that the orphanage director, whom they used to call Mummy, would send me to IME to withdraw money sent by people. She gets lots of money from people in Nepal and other countries. Many tourists used to come to our orphanage and they stayed with us. I had dreamt of going to boarding school in Kathmandu, but nothing happened like that. So what are the barriers to prosecution currently? So here we can clearly see that orphanage trafficking is not specifically identified in Nepal's Human Trafficking and Transportation Act 2007. It's very old. It needs amendment. We have signed trafficking protocol in June 2020. So there needs a lot of amendment in regard to address this problem. Cases are charged, filed based on the nature of the offense or the little knowledge the official has on this issue. Child trafficking into orphanages has been prosecuted as fraud or offenses against child, a rare case that was shared in 2016 after the earthquake. And the political connections, the political factors where the village ward officials themselves have made the falsified documents, telling that the child is an orphan, So such political connections also plays a big role in pressing the charges in such cases. And perpetrators are released on bail. No victim compensation to exploited children and their families. So these are the key barriers which we are facing currently in ground. And I would like to leave you with this statement a young child said, "I cannot change what happened to me, but the culprits, the traffickers, the middlemen who separated me from my family saw me crying and being exploited. They are still living freely in our communities. Who will punish them?" So I think we are answerable to her question, all of us. Thank you.
Anju. Hello? Great. Anju, thank you very much for sharing with all of us. I want to do a time check with everyone. So it is 4:20 now. As you can see on the schedule, we end at 4:30, which is impossible. So what we're going to do, you want 5 more hours, did you say?
I don't mind.
Yes. So this is a wonderful discussion, but we also know that everybody has traffic and everything else to deal with on the way out. So what we'll do is give the incredible time to each of our speakers, have a short conversation, and then we will be done for the day and have some tea and smile and good conversation. So I am excited to introduce, and by the way, the variety of all of this is incredible. Gurneet and Kiranji, the way you've set this up is incredible, the people you have. It really is all Gurneet, isn't it? You're amazing. Okay, here we go. You don't need any major introduction, but I'm going to read this. No. Oh, absolutely no. It's.
Give me that 1 minute extra.
You got it. Go.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So yeah, thank you, Leena, Kiran, and Ramya for not giving up on me. I think it's because of the three of you that my interview is here. Thanks for not giving up on me. They did a wonderful job of chasing me. I also want to request Ranjana to check if I'll miss my flight by any chance. It's at 8 o'clock. Okay. So I don't know how many hours it takes me. 1 hour. Super.
Yes.
Extra. Okay, super. I've been given this topic and I just want to sort of just say this. If what I'm going to say will trigger anything, any emotions in anybody, please ask me to stop. Please seek help. We have people here who can help you. I'm seeking a lot of answers. So in case I say something or I ask a question which might offend somebody, please do not get upset. Just come up and tell me because I'm work in progress. This topic disturbs a lot of people when you say vulnerabilities in alternative care, increasing risk of trafficking. So I'm going to start with some of my experiences way back several years ago. So should I do it in Hindi or English? Okay, English. So in Bombay, there is this place called Dongri. It's called Jail Road. Okay. And there used to be, and even today, in that premises, it houses an observation home and a children's home, earlier known as remand home. So everybody knew it as a place called remand home. When I started work in the red light area, there were families. When I say family, it's a single unit family. The mother in the sex trade very often would approach us and say, I don't think my child is safe in the red light area. Can you move the child into a boarding school? Boarding home mein rakh do. And during our conversation with them, I would tell them ki humko, we have to take your child to Dongri. And the mothers would say, keep my child anywhere but the chiller home. And I didn't know as a young professional what chiller home was. I looked up and we didn't have Google. So I asked several people, what is this chiller home? Only to later realize chiller is banda and chiller in Hindi. Small coins, petty. Chiller is associated with petty, chota coins, and banda is big coin, big note, big currency. And I kept asking my question, why was it referred to as chiller home? I'm going to stop here. Scene 1. I often listen to children, youth who have moved out of residential care, CCIs that we call today. And what I hear, see if you all also hear that. I hear, मैं एक हॉस्टल में रहती हूँ. मैं एक हॉस्टल में रहती थी. मैं एक हॉस्टल में रहती हूँ, रहती थी पढ़ाई के लिए. I never ever hear children say anything about बाल गृह. They never say मैं बाल गृह में रहती थी. They also don't say मैं orphanage में रहती थी. They will never talk about being unsafe. They'll never say मैं असुरक्षित थी इसीलिए मैं बाल गृह में रहती हूँ या मुझे बाल गृह में एडमिट किया गया. They will always use the word education. And I kept asking myself, why do they? And even today, I have an answer, but I still ask this question. And I also, of late, have gathered the courage to speak to a few adult care leavers. In the past, I didn't have the courage. Of late, I've gathered this courage. And all this, from chiller home to why hostel to why education, I see a lot of stigma attached. Whereas the minute you say hostel and education, there is no stigma attached. You fall in the category. So in my interview, I've spoken about how we social workers, I don't care about the rest of the world. I care about how we social workers do it even today, 2023. We do it even today. We categorize children into good, bad, the ugly, and the unwanted. Aaj bhi we use these words. Good homes. This child is from a good family. Constantly in front of children, constantly in all these seminars. Now, you'll probably want me to tie it up. I'm tying it up because, you know, if we're going to talk about alternative care, vulnerabilities in alternative care, increasing risk of trafficking, I feel there'll be more stigma attached to it. I feel children will start feeling hurt and bad about it. And we still have to talk. So let's figure out how do we deal with this. Okay, this is one concern. I'm only telling you things that I've heard. Now, why should children feel, you know, sad about this whole childcare institutions, alternative care and trafficking? Because har bar trafficking ke bare mein baat karte hai, you think of sex trafficking. That's why, again, apologies to everybody who has come out and disclosed. If I'm going to hurt them, please stop me, please explain to me, please tell me, do not get angry with me. Every time there is a disclosure that, yes, I'm a victim of human trafficking, the disclosure is about labor. It's never about commercial sexual exploitation. Remember, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for that person. And also when you talk of human trafficking, the first thing that comes to our mind is sex trafficking. And if it is a girl, it will always, that's the first thing that will come to our mind, is the girl says she's a victim of human trafficking. the association will be commercial sexual exploitation. So this is a very, very sensitive area. All of us working with children, let's be very careful when we say, and of course it's our worry. It is our biggest worry that if we are not going to provide the necessary care and safety and protection to children while they are into alternative care, their vulnerability gets further accentuated. And every time an operator, she used the word operator, every time a pimp, an operator, a perpetrator sees anybody in vulnerability, and believe me, vulnerability has got nothing to do with poverty, okay? It's just because we are social workers, we saw poor children, we think every trafficked child is poor. Vulnerability has got nothing to do with poverty. And every time any child you put into this vulnerable situation, we are all in vulnerable situation, but we have support systems. When children, vulnerable children minus support system, there's high possibility that that child will be exploited or will be lured and eventually sold into an exploitative situation, which as per the definition is human trafficking. So let's be very, very cautious. The other entire group of children are those who are rescued from a situation of human trafficking. If we are not going to be providing the much needed support to the child, the much needed independent living skills to the child, very often we also hear, मैं बाहर निकली और मुझे कुछ नहीं आता था करने के लिए. यहाँ पे इतना routine था, there was such great routine, everything was done for me. And we take pride in creating dependency among children on us, on the system. And every time we've done that, remember, the vulnerability has increased because the child just doesn't know how to navigate the system outside. The child doesn't know what is safe and unsafe for that child when we suddenly leave the child to fend for themselves in the outside society. So having said that, let's also not keep children in that beautiful bubble that we keep them in, because that again increases their vulnerability once they move out. And today it's not just us, it's the Juvenile Justice Act which does that. ये मत करो, ये मत करवाओ, वो मत करवाओ, ये मत करवाओ, ऐसे मत करो, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, only do this, this. And it is creating a lot of dependency. We are just not letting children take those small little risks, safe risks, I call them. It's not going to harm the child. You know, baby step wala risk. I take small risks, I can take bigger risks. And risks are not bad at all. They are not bad. That's how we grow, and that's how we know what is safe, what is unsafe. That's how we will know whom to trust, whom not to trust, and that trust is a dynamic process. Today I'm trusting her, but she's not going to be permanently trustworthy maybe. I need to keep checking whether is Preeti Patkar really safe for me for the rest of my life, or is she safe for me only today and for the next 10 days. These are life lessons we need to teach children. Otherwise, their vulnerability in alternative care is going to be there, and they will go out of the childcare institutions with that. The other is the category. I told you the good and bad, no? So our journey into alternative care also began because of our fight that childcare institutions are filled with children who are not in need of care and protection, and children who are in need of care and protection do not get space there. And who are these children in need of care and protection? One big category is children rescued from commercial sexual exploitation. Nobody wants them. Which is the other category? Children born to prostituted women living in the brothels of the red light area. Nobody wants them because these are bad children. And when these children, with a lot of fight from external agents, enter the system, get some space in the system wants to expel them. These are children who are, again, you're pushing them into vulnerability, and what we call is the biggest threat of re-trafficking. Imagine the trauma. She'll tell you they trusted somebody. It's very difficult for them to trust anybody. Believe me. Then they begin to trust, and you again broke their trust by flushing them out of the system without giving them that much needed protection safety net. So yes, and whether in alternative care or anywhere, if you're not going to provide, if you're not going to do that systematic, that's why I said early in the morning also, you need to have an exit plan. These children, I do understand, and I know people are going to get very mad with me. I do understand that we treat them as family, but remember, we are not their families. We are not their families. We do call them Amma, and they call us Amma and Mama and everything, but we are not their mammas. And I really want us to start thinking, because for me, even when they call me Mama or Amma, I feel that is tokenistic love. Koi mere ko juta mat maro, ha? Mat maro. I'm just using this platform to say what I hear and I see. To no koi upset mat ho jao, upset ho jayenge to chai mat pilao. But these relationships na hum build karte hai, bahut tokenistic hota hai. बहुत tokenistic होता है. Instead, let them know I am Preeti. And let them know these are our boundaries. Let them know it is okay. That does not make me less compassionate. Believe me, calling me a mama doesn't make me more compassionate. And not calling me a mama does not make me less compassionate. I feel these are things that moving forward, let's all work together just so that children become independent. They're on their own. And when COVID hits, it's still ringing, I still can't get out of those narratives I heard during our webinars. When COVID hits, they will not come to us and say, I'm in a bad state. They will not come to us, because we have and I'm telling you, even those 2 years are more than enough for us to build them. More than enough for us to tell. Not a single child who leaves the childcare institution today knows child line number. They don't know, because we have not taught them what are the safety mechanisms available for you. Why do they have to come back running to you? Why is it that they did not tap the safety services existing in and around their facility? क्योंकि हम लोगों ने बताया ही नहीं. Not see, let's not take pride कि हमारे पास भागकर आते हैं बच्चे. हमारे पास बच्चे आते ही नहीं है because I created a local system for that for the children. That's when we should take pride. Why should they travel 100 kilometers and come to us? Why is it that we did not tell them that yes? Why is it that we did not map for them and give while they were with us? तुम्हारे घर के आसपास क्या है? Let's sit and map while you're with us. Who are those people who can come to your aid when you are in trouble? Because all of us are in trouble all the time. It's not going to be that we won't be in trouble and that we won't be in crisis. We are going to be in crisis, whether we have the money or we don't have the money. Let's not make it all about poor people. This happens with all of us. So let's create those systems. Let's have those systems in place whereby every child goes back with something solid, whereby the child knows when he's likely to be safe and when he's not. Whereby a child who's approached with a promise of job or marriage will ask 100 questions. तेरा किधर है, नौकरी किधर है, बैंक बैलेंस कितना है, तू HIV पॉजिटिव है क्या, सब बता मुझे. And this the child will only be able to ask when you train the child कि it is okay to ask all these questions. You're not going to blame and you're not doing anything wrong by asking these questions. Ask all these questions and then move ahead. Then take your decision. We don't tell children it's okay to take time to take decisions. अभी के अभी yes or no नहीं बोलना है हमको. Lay low time, weigh everything, and then take your next step. I think these are things we need to do to ensure vulnerabilities are reduced in alternative care. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you, really, Leena. Sachi mein. Sachi. No, thank you so much. You all give us a platform to represent the most invisibilized children, those who are trafficked, and especially trafficked for commercial sexual exploitation. And I can't tell you, it means a lot to those children, those youth, and that community. So thank you so much. And thank you for anchoring this panel. You're doing a wonderful job.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And we understand whenever you have to go. We totally understand.
Yes.
Uh-oh, Kiranji has a question. Let's hear it.
Actually, it's not a question. It's more like an observation. Just to give you an example, it was a 14-year-old in one of our homes when the inspection happened suddenly. All of us are subjected to these inspections by all and sundry. All kinds of inspection agencies, even a university is hired to make an inspection on you. SCPCR comes, CWC comes, DCPO comes, DM comes, I don't know who all. So suddenly there was an inspection. And this 14-year-old, she was washing her clothes in the washing machine. Next day, the paper screamed, Udayan Care makes its children do work at home. They don't allow us. See, the thing is, we may want to do certain things, but we have to change the system. And for that, a lot of advocacy is needed. All childcare institutions, whoever we are, we need to sit together. And we need to, in fact, I had suggested to DCPCR, you should have these open houses. One side CWC members, one side CCI members, and on the other side, call DALSA, anyone. And let's have a dialogue. You are not allowing me. I cannot ask the children to cook. The other day, there was a meeting at the WCD where they were making some protocols. And in the protocol, it was written, even if it's a 16, 17-year-old girl, if she does any cooking or anything, give them a reward. I said, in your own home, do you get a reward for it? It's a part of the routine. Why don't we teach them? You are not allowed to send even one day earlier than 18 to go out alone on the road.
No,
you have to send people with them. No. In Mumbai, whatever may happen, but we are working in 4 states, in Haryana, in Uttar Pradesh, in Rajasthan, and in Delhi. Situation is so bad, I can't tell you. You cannot send them. It's just not permitted. Even with my driver who has, his police verification, everything. Even a driver can't take 2 girls alone in the car. There have to be, 18 minus just 1 day. What is this? And you are talking about teaching them. How do you teach? You cannot go against the authorities. So we need to make a loud voice on this and come together and talk to the authorities what is going on. You are not letting us teach them any life skill.
So, Kiran, I would just say, look at the individual care plan and see, this is how you do advocacy, right? Look at the individual care plan. There is one section called independent living skills. Let's write to the authorities. Please spell out independent living skills for us.
Let's do that together.
Yes, because that's how we did it in Maharashtra. See, CWCs were a little cautious. We said, what is independent living skills? Of course, age appropriately independent living skills. Age appropriately, a 12-year-old should know how to wash their hair. You can't have a caretaker do it. Age appropriately, a 14-year-old girl should be able to, learn these many skills. Whether somebody teaches it at home or no, I don't care whether my child learns at home or no. Every individually, age appropriately, should be able to cross a road, go to the college. So, one thing, Kiran, we should all try and do, I feel, or have a discussion on it. Let's not say, I let my child at home do it. It's not about my personal life and this. We have these children in our care and we have to think in their best interest, in their setting, right? And let's say, no, for this child, going to college on their own is the only way the child will be able to assess when she's in a safe situation, when she's not in a safe situation. So, why I told you, I thanked you, because I don't know how many people in this room, who are, some of them will become policy makers, will be sitting on a table where policy is being designed and discussed, will know something about human trafficking today for commercial sexual exploitation. Similarly, I feel every platform we get, whether people invite us or no, let's bring this. What is independent living skills? Please tell us. What should we cover? Let's define it. Let's have a...
You put more CCTV here, there is no CCTV, why this angle is not being caught, put one more up here, put grills all over grills. And we used to believe in open door. And when I started here 26 years back, I never used to keep the house locked. It only needs to be open. Children are allowed to go and play in the community, come back whenever they wanted. And I was really hurt up. I said, what is this? On one side, you are saying make them feel like a family, make them feel like a home. How do you make them feel like a home? I mean, the whole system really has started sucking.
Well,
With
okay,
permission from Yan, I just want
yes,
to add.
you got it. And then I want to respect Suresh as well, who's
Yeah.
got his presentation and everyone's time. But yes, your
Can I
point.
just apologize to
Yes, you have-
Suresh and leave? Suresh, I'm so sorry. I wanted to listen to your presentation. I can't see you.
He's right there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I will catch it on the car.
Good.
And all the best to everybody. And thanks so much once again for giving
Thank
us this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Preeti ji. Good to see you.
Okay.
All the online.
Okay, Suresh, just 1 second. So
So
you have
what-
incredible
yes, yes.
experience. Please make a comment, then we'll have Suresh.
What
go.
in fact actually Kiranji was trying to say, and what Preeti ji has said, I just want to add my personal experience while approaching the DCPU and CWC for taking the custody of the child. I myself have gone through such experience which is not at all sensitive by a person who is a DCPU officer. One day I got a call when I was in hospital in Lucknow, and my father was suffering from cancer then. So what that lady said, I will not take the name of that lady, she said that, is that Mr. Vishwajit Ghoshal, you applied for the custody of a child under this particular scheme, and means the child is with me right now under foster care. As your father is dying, you want to show your father that now you have a daughter too. So, and these are the same people with whom we are interacting every day. So people who are in CWC, people who are in DCPU, the people who are feeling and taking this particular persona as well as that they are the custodians of each and every child, that is not correct. You need to be very, very sensitive. And if that sensitivity is not in you, it hardly matters to me what qualification you're holding. So that is the fact which Kiranji what said. I agree with her that we as a collective group should exert a pressure. In fact, it is very difficult, it's very challenging. Where these children will go, in fact, if we don't run children home, if we don't run shelters, where will they go? And this is the whole reason, therefore, we initiated a movement called Connecting Soul, Empowering Lives. It is very much important that people from outside this child protection matrix should also become a part of our rehabilitation program. Otherwise, we will fail.
Thank you. No, I mean, it's the level of depth and the level of emotion and injustice is quite great. And it's important for us to talk about it. Okay, Suresh, we have delayed you long enough. We are very excited to hear from you. I'm going to read your esteemed bio and then give you the microphone. So Suresh Kumar is an Acumen Fellow and Executive Director at the Center Direct, which fights against child labor and trafficking with a focus on prosecuting child traffickers. He assists law enforcement agencies in rescuing the victims, prosecuting the traffickers, oppressive employers, and provides anti-trafficking trainings to various stakeholders, and files public interest litigations, PILs, for securing relief to the vulnerable children. Currently, he's been rebuilding the lives of over 700 child trafficking survivors in Bihar who were rescued from Bengal factories in Jaipur in Rajasthan. Suresh spearheads the child trafficking survivors collective movement in Bihar, which has around 300 child trafficking survivors as members. He writes on the child protection issues for leading newspapers in India. Suresh has studied law at Delhi University and authored Child Trafficking: The Fight for Freedom. So without further ado, Suresh, we are excited to hear from you.
Yes, yeah, thank you so much for a wonderful introduction. And although I'm the last speaker, but I'm happy to be part of this discussion. My topic is providing alternative care for survivors of human trafficking. I'll just stick to this one there. See, Jan and everyone, Kiranji and all. See, the institutional care becomes necessary just after rescue. And the importance of the institutional care is not as long as our children are staying in our country. Because institutional care doesn't prepare our children to go out of this and join and be a part of nation building, or even be the part of survivors movement that we have been building. When these survivors go back to the community, they access a bunch of facilities, right from their family to the school to the other things. And this ecosystem helps them to come up well. Again, I'm repeating, I'm not denying the importance of institutional care, because just after rescue, it is institutional care which provides facility to stay there, and it makes them feel, the institution makes them feel that now you are free and you calm down here and you just assist in legal process. That's the importance of institutional care. But the duration, there must be a timeline that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. There are children who have stayed months, and in some cases they have stayed years in the institutional care. And that their formative years are stolen first by the traffickers, and the second by this institutional care. So we need to devise alternative care that our children, our human trafficking survivors, do not stay in the institutional care for a period longer than needed. The child trafficking survivors in general come from the most vulnerable section, and that many children do not have families at the community. And many children, their parents are not in a position to feed them. But it doesn't mean that they stay at the institutional care. We need to devise mechanism, as Kiranji and other organizations have been working in India, that we need to devise this alternative care for them. We need to curate it for them so that they can access all right provided in our constitution, and they can prepare themselves in the nation building. So far, our institutional care are not providing them skills. So once they step out and they can be a workforce, they can be someone who is contributing. No, they are not able to do it. So we need to work on it. Having said that, nothing is better than a home. But there are child trafficking survivors who do not have home. I have been taking up many cases of family trafficking. Their father have sold the girl to the brothel house, and we have got the girls rescued. We do not have any options to send the girl back to the home, because she doesn't have home in a sense. And these girls, if they're not given alternative care, staying in the social care for a long period will not make the girl powerful enough, even after completing 18 years of age, to contribute in the nation building, to live independent life, and to be even the survivors movement that is building around the world. Our survivors in our country are not playing their role very importantly, although we have been building it in Bihar. And largely we have been working with the child labor survivors. They are boys. Some of them are really contributing in the nation building, and some of them are really have occupied their places in the government committees in Bihar. I want every child trafficking survivors, human trafficking survivors, to be given opportunity so that they can reach to full potential. And once they come up, they cross 18 years of age, they pick up good education. And they can be someone who can fight against human trafficking, who can do the things that they decide. Not it's organization supporting survivors, and we tell them to choose this career option. No, we need to make them our survivors smart enough, capable enough to choose the career options from a wide of options that we can provide them. Alternative care is the idea of alternative care is the very good, but this is at the nascent stage in our country, and that rescue becomes meaningless in many cases, because even if a child gets rescued in one city in this country, he or she takes time, sometimes years, to come back to his home. And in the whole process, he or she loses months, years, losing the prime formative years. And if we need to save prime age, formative years of our children, so that it can be utilized for rebuilding of their lives. Our children are precious, and that I expect each survivor to be someone who can contribute in the nation building. With this, I'm just putting an end to my words, Jan. If you have any question, you can ask.
Brilliant. Suresh, thank you very, very much. Thank you to all of the panelists. Looking at the time, let's take 5 minutes or so for any questions that anyone has, any comments or reflections, and then I'll do a quick summing up of this panel and then hand the vote of thanks to Lena at the end. So any comments, thoughts? And obviously we'll never have enough time to have a full discussion on the depth of this, but anything that anyone would like to ask?
But this not themselves so that others get down. So do you have anything you want to add to this?
You please. No, you please, and then I will.
As Preeti ma'am was saying very rightly, that was what main point was, that we do not give them much opportunity to learn the skills, including coping, as in coping with the challenges of life as well as psychological challenges. Because of the restraints, the restrictions, the things they have faced in life, many a times they become so dependent that they forget the skills they were already having. One thing that I really wanted to mention, apart from their chosen mutism, they also, at times we also find children who regress. The milestones they have already attained, they regress and go back to previous stages. So many a times when children from CWC come to us for evaluation, they simply say कि IQ में problem है बच्चे के, which actually is not an IQ problem when the child is assessed in details. Basically, the child is having psychological problems. So वहाँ पे we need to have a lot of support to the child, and after not just saying कि हाँ ये वाली problem है. It is very easy to just make a comment, make a diagnosis in one go. But going into the depth is very difficult. So we can maybe start with our practice that straight away we do not go and comment upon the diagnosis कि हाँ ये problem है, ये बच्चा तो ऐसा ही है, इसमें तो caliber ही नहीं है. There are multiple emotional issues that lead to temporary loss of caliber. So ये चीज एक तो हमें ध्यान रखनी है. Another very important thing was I just mentioned the neurotic spectrum of the problems. There are lot many severe problems also जो कि हो जाती हैं बच्चों में, leading to more severe mental illnesses, which we may say psychosis हो जाता है कई बारी. The prevalence is not yet known. So I also wanted to tell you, ma'am, that definitely we look forward कि now we will work on evidence-based research, and because now we know a platform where we can contribute. No? So I would say we need to look for the child holistically, not just one particular domain. That was my main thing that I wanted to emphasize, that let us look at the child holistically, not just कि हाँ ये this is, as ma'am mentioned, कि तो trafficked child है, इसमें तो ये problem है ना, he belongs to a poor family. तो जो हम categorizations कर देते हैं and we forget the child as a holistic being, we that forget that. So let us bear it in mind and work towards child's benefit.
what actually I was trying to convey from my own experiences, that though we started Center of Excellence in Prayas, and the whole purpose of starting Center of Excellence supported by Jindal is to be into the life of these children who are the victims of different situation and circumstances. We are trying our level best to provide them excellent services, but at the same time, where we are failing, we are failing to connect them on emotional basis with our caregivers, with our duty bearers. I place on record the sincere gratitude to Almighty that you yourself start valuing your life when you come into the life of these children. And believe me, their resilience power is much more than any one of us sitting in this hall. First thing. Second thing, you also realize the value of your parents, which, because no one has seen God, but in parents, you see your living God inside. So if the caregivers, anyone who is working with the children in any capacity, if they can connect themselves with one child throughout their life, it is immaterial whether they are working in that organization or whether they are not working in that organization. But it is because of these children we got the opportunity, I got the opportunity to be in front of all of you. If you just connect yourself with one child throughout his or her life, yeah, it is going to empower two lives at the same time. Because again, my own experiences, my own achievements are not going to help the child, but my interaction, but my association with the child on soul to soul basis is going to change two lives, one of that child and one of mine too. This is what we have to keep in mind. These organizations, whether you talk about Butterflies, whether you talk about Udayan Care, whether you talk about Prayas or many other organizations working with children directly, has given us that platform where we can come, where we can associate ourselves with the child on soul to soul basis. And that was the whole reason we started this movement, Connecting Soul, Empowering Lives. So, and all of you will be surprised that initially when we started, because I was somewhere very much disturbed. I know the sources from where the children are coming, but I don't know where they are going once they turn up 18. What is happening in their life? So is that our institutions are simply meant to provide services to them, or it has been created with a purpose, with a vision to change their life? This particular question we need to ask every day. If 700 people are working in Prayas, or for example, if 300 people are working in Udayan Care, it is the responsibility of those 300 people to introspect, to ask every day this question: for what purpose they are here? Because every time we cannot be able to go only by the rule book. And CWC, DCPU, commission people, they should not carry this impression that they are the only custodian of the children's right. And we are only the service providers. With these words, in fact, I'm asking Ian to carry forward the proceedings.
Great.
Yeah, sure.
Saying, I would like Dolly ji to read out a poem. Dolly ji, will you? She is mentor mother in our Udayan Care system. We have mentors who sign up for life. We are all complete volunteers and we sign up for life as a parent. And we did not want them to call us Mama Papa. We called ourselves mentor mother and mentor father. But somehow, as they grew up after 18, suddenly everyone is calling Mama, and I've got my 2-3 daughters here in the hall. All of them feel the same. So Dolly ji, please read this poem. One of the girls has written to her.
Great. And just for online, after this poem, what I think we'll do is Anju and Suresh, if you have any final comments, we'll ask you for those. And then I think we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We'd love to hear it.
But I think just in the same vein, this poem is really befitting.
वो कहते हैं आप हमारी माँ नहीं, क्योंकि हमारी रगों में आपका खून नहीं। फिर क्यों जहां आप होती हैं घर वही हमारा बन जाता है। फिर क्यों पूरी दुनिया घूम कर भी सुकून हमें सिर्फ आपकी गोद में सर रख कर ही आता है। वो कहते हैं आपके परिवार का हम हिस्सा नहीं, क्योंकि आपका और हमारा कुल नाम एक नहीं। फिर क्यों कोई परिवार के बारे में पूछे तो ख्याल सबसे पहले आपका ही आता है, और चाहे सुख हो या दुख, ये बच्चा आपका सबसे पहले आपके पास ही दौड़ा चला आता है। वो कहते हैं और हम उन्हें कहने देते हैं, क्योंकि सच तो सिर्फ हम ही जानते और मानते हैं। जानते हैं हम जब किसी ने हाथ ना बढ़ाया, तब आपने था हमें संभाला। घर बढ़े, परिवार बढ़ा और बच्चे तो बढ़ते ही चले गए, पर आपने हमेशा हर बच्चे को था खुली बाह से स्वीकारा। जानते हैं हम खून का नहीं, दिल का रिश्ता है हमारा, इसलिए आपने हमें इतने नाजों से है पाला। और जब भी हम राह से भटके, आप ही ने था हमारा कदम संभाला। हम तो मेघ पुष्प थे जो पतझड़ के साथ ही झड़ जाते, अगर आप हमें अपने प्यार से सींच मजबूत पेड़ ना बनाते। जन्म देने वाली माँ को तो हम जान ना सके, पर ये आज दिल से मानते हैं, अगर वो होती तो शायद आपसे इनसिक्योर ही होती, क्योंकि आपसे ज्यादा प्यार यकीनन वो भी हमें ना कर पाती।
Beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing that. Anju or Suresh, do you have any final comments before I do a quick summation and hand the mic over to Lena to do a vote of thanks for the end?
Oh, yeah, I don't have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh. Anju?
Thank you, Ian. That was a wonderful poem, very heart touching. I just wanted to offer our support to Kiranji, because we have transitioned from an orphanage, Forget Me Not orphanage, to now of running a family-based care program in Nepal. And as she mentioned about independent supervised living guideline or how we do it. So I think it's a good idea that we collaborate. I will touch base with Kiranji later, as we are part of BICON also. So just I want to say a big thank you to all of you. I have really learned a lot from you all, listening to all the incredible works on addressing child trafficking in India. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you everyone very much. I think the first kind of thanks to wrap up this session, and then Lena can wrap up the full day. But the first thanks goes to all of you. I can feel, it's been a long day and you are all still very attentive and caring about this incredibly important conversation. So I've got 7 quick points that I've written that I've heard from each of the speakers, and then we'll wrap up. So the first point that I heard over this last 2 hours is that it's really important to understand the complex environments around where kids are coming from, especially understanding that sometimes it's within the family that a decision for trafficking happens. The second is in understanding the importance of emotional well-being, building trust, the coping mechanisms, and the patience it takes to work with young people. The third is that we saw some data-based, evidence-driven work out of Nepal that shows us the need to truly understand where the money is flowing and where the physical tracks are flowing, and understanding the successes and challenges of prosecution. The fourth is that child sexual trafficking and children in commercial sexual exploitation is an area that really needs to be shared, understood, our knowledge deepened, and the amount of offerings and resources in that space needs to be truly increased. Number 5, that we need to take pride. That we shouldn't be taking pride that caregivers and organizations are creating dependency on children, on them. But we are looking for strong, independent, and intentionally interdependent young people to go out into this world. And we should not be proud of having some beautiful bubble. 6, there are many multiple layered issues for preparing a young person in care, getting them out of care, independent living, the constraints of legislation. All of those things are things we need to be acutely aware of, because what I'm hearing over and over again is young people are not being prepared for life on their own. And the last is the kind of heart-touching and message I hope that comes through here is that for many, childhood is being stolen. So it's our duty to preserve a child's precious time as a developing citizen in the world. So I thank you all for your time and for these incredible contributions. And at that, I hand it over to Lena G to wrap us up.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, all the panelists. So before we, call upon Lena ma'am to extend the vote of thanks, I would like you to share a brief story of your own experience of child trafficking, if you want to, highlight upon that.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
No, I can. I mean, but is it okay? It's late. Is everyone okay? 2 minutes. Okay. So many of you can see in the journal, those of you who have the journal in front of you, maybe not, there, I wrote a perspective piece on child trafficking. So many of you know and some of you don't, there is a question about my origins, about whether I myself was trafficked. So I was born in Kolkata in 1980. So it was interesting you started talking about Kolkata. So I was born at a nursing home called Sri Krishna Nursing Home, and I was abandoned at day one. So I don't know any information about biological mother, biological father, any of that. And I've tried. I've done biological testing. I've gone to the Kolkata High Courts, all that stuff. I can't find it. But fast forward to when I was 26 years old. Oh, gosh, no, 28 years old. I was working with Kara as a counselor, and I worked with the BBC to do a documentary on the origins of my story, kind of where did I come from. And at that point, the case broke that there was a 30-year-old child trafficking ring at Sri Krishna Nursing Home and at the orphanage that I came from. That's called International Mission of Hope. So what they were doing, and again, this is very sensitive information, so if this is tough for anybody to hear, please come talk to me afterwards. I'm a trained counselor. I'm happy to talk to anybody. But what I discovered in all of that is that this organization and many were doing something called baby farming. So they would go out to villages and they would find women who were having maybe fourth or fifth child, and they would say they could help induce labor early, and then they could take the child and they could give the child an education and everything else. But when the mother came along after 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, they would say, I'm sorry, you agreed for this child to go for a better life, and they're gone. So, and this happens even to this day, quite frequently. So one thing I want you to know is that child trafficking is happening right now as you sit here in Delhi hotels, all around, it's happening. And sometimes it's happening domestically, and sometimes it's happening internationally. So I think it's a very important point for you all to understand that. Then, which I know you understand already. The other thing is very important to understand how then me, as somebody who could have potentially been trafficked, but also my parents. So many of you saw my parents, my adoptive parents that were sitting there on the right side. Imagine when this case broke, they immediately thought, did we buy our child by mistake? You think about that for one moment. So if you had adopted a child or you were taking care of a child from your heart, right? Beautifully. But then you find out that that child might have been trafficked. What might come into your mind? Did I purchase my child? So I think it's also very important to think about the counseling and mental health support for adoptive and foster parents as well. That's another aspect of the family and caregivers that are very important. And then for the youth, so because I'm lucky enough to be a counselor, to be trained in the way I have done my own counseling. I've done a lot of counseling. Anyone in here who thinks counseling is not a good idea or a weakness, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. Doing counseling, getting mental health support is the greatest strength you could ever have. And you have to model it for the next generation. They need to see from all of us that we're proud to be doing our own work with ourselves, to understand our own identity and all the different parts within us, so that they can say, wow, my mother or my friend or my mentor is getting counseling themselves. It's okay for me to do that. So please remember. So anyways, I could go on and on, but is that okay? Okay, cool.
Thank you, Ian. So I think what a day to end this, by listening to the story, still feeling goosebumps. So, but thank you hugely, Ian, for sharing that story. I'd like to extend a warm gratitude on behalf of the Udian Care team and the partners to everyone who've spoken, shared, and, been part of this deliberation since morning, especially the children who came and, put together the excellent skit together. It's been a day full of learning, I think, and I think also a lot that I've unlearned. There's a lot that we've done, but a lot that I think we need to undo as well. Special call out to all of you who are still present in the room and so attentive, so much of attention. I think really filled with huge appreciation and gratitude. I'll call out for Vikram Dutt sir, who took us to the lighter lanes of memory and talked about the 10 years of history of the institutionalized, the journal, Institutionalized Children Explorations and Beyond, which is completing 10 years. And we were here celebrating, the beginning of that 10 years journey. I'll also extend huge appreciation to all the editorial team members. I still have memories when I joined Udian Care in 2016. We used to have morning calls at 7 o'clock on Skype, connecting with Monisha, who's the chief editor, and Kiran ma'am, and I was trying to understand who would be the contributors, what would the next issue look like. And that's how the journey has progressed. All the contributors so far, all the subscribers, I think huge thanks to Sage for the partnership and for telling us real great news, like from 7,000, the downloads are now increasing to 18,000. The sales of the journal is really picking up worldwide. And the Sage partnership, I think, is doing great justice to the publication. Harshita and Neetu Kalra, please convey our gratitude to Neetu. Ian, thank you for being on the journal, for this wonderful moderation, and for agreeing to be the guest editor for the next issue, which is coming out in September. And that's going to be like a real big publication because it's going to capture the 10 decades of alternative care in 8 countries in South Asia. So really looking forward to that publication. Special gratitude to all the panelists for this session, except Dr. Shehzadi and Vishwajit. I think the rest of all of you were contributors to the March 23 issue. And it's really nice to see contributors come together and speak about the issue, at the journal launch. To my team, the Fit Families Together team and the journal team, thank you for all the hard work we put together. Maybe the Fit Family team can come forward.
Yeah.
At least let everybody see who are the people who are working all the time behind the scenes. It seems it's only my name which is
So quickly, I think I'm there, I'm with them. So we have, yeah. So I have Shrishti, who's the counselor. Alvira's the case manager. Raja, you've met in the morning. He's the outreach community team member. Ranjana is currently leading the Fit Families Together initiative. We have Vinita, who's the case manager, and Manan, who's the counselor. We got Manan recently on board when we realized that we needed a male counselor to be talking to men and boys. Did I miss out on anyone? Sohail, I think some of the team members are not here. They've left for the community work. So thank you team. And can I now call upon the journal team, Gurneet? So both of them, Dr. Gurneet and Dr. Remya, who are responsible for putting together the journal together. And so that's the journal team together. Okay.
So I think just saying that look out for the September 2023 issue, and I'll not take much of your time. Thank you once again. And tea is waiting outside getting thanda. So let's talk over tea.